Alrighty, hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you guys are having a great Wednesday, middle of the week. We have two companies reporting today. We got Iren and Bitfarms reporting today for their quarterly results. Iren, great job there, man. Positive EPS, second quarter in a row. They're doing a great job. We'll take a look at what's going on there. Why are they the only ones that can get a positive EPS? What's the secret sauce there? We'll take a look at that. We'll obviously talk about the report there as well. I'll give you guys my thoughts on that. Bitfarms as well. Hive came out today that they're doing an updated ATM, basically. We'll talk about that. And then we have Coreweave coming out with really good numbers as well for their quarterly results. So we'll take a look at that quickly. And then we'll get into Q&A. So it should be pretty short and sweet. Well, it's going to be hopefully like a half an hour, 45 minutes, but we'll see. I know we're going late. It's only because of everything else that is going on. So all the data that I had to pull in. But as always, not financial advice, for entertainment only. Do your own research. Full disclosure below that. Hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out tremendously. And let's take a look at what happened here with Bitcoin and miners today. Bitcoin was down a little bit. Wasn't down too bad, but we did come down. And I think this is just a healthy little pullback. We're going into a little bit of accumulation phase, it looks like right now. Bringing things down to a healthy level again before we pump up higher. We saw this happening here a little bit, right? Where we came down, started going back up. We saw this also a little bit over here where we were kind of going flat or down to a little bit, and then we finally pumped up a little bit. So I think this is just a continuation of that. Nothing to be fearful of. But Bitcoin was down just a little bit today. It was down 0.56% on the day. Miners were down a little bit more than that. They definitely did a multiple of that. We had Bitfarms being down 6% today. On the results a little bit, BitTier was down 2.36%. Cypher, well, BitTier is at least holding the 100 simple day moving average there. Cypher was down 3.5%. Cleanspark was down 3.9%. CORZ was up a little bit, 0.78%. It got close to the 100 simple day moving average today. Bounced off of that downwards. Hive was down 2.55%. HUT-E was down 2.2%. It came close to the 200 simple day moving average here. That got negated. Iren was down 1.85. Mara was down 3.05%. Riot was down 1.6%. Wolf was down 4.4%. And MicroStrategy was down, or Strategy was down 1.15%. I keep calling it MicroStrategy for some reason. It's glued in my, it's been burned into my brain. Galaxy was up nicely today, 8.74%. Man, this thing has been a rocket ship. If anybody got into that one, congrats to you guys. Coin was up also a little bit today, 2.53 after a nice rally yesterday. And then what else do we have here that was kind of nice? Some of the smaller miners were in the green, somewhere in the red, but Argo was up 10% for some reason. And then Mawson was down 10% today after rally. Then the ETF, Bitcoins, or for miners, were down today. 1 percentage points, less than 1%, something like that. So it wasn't too bad of a day. Let's get into what we have here. Obviously, Bitcoin right now for the month of May is still up 10%. So that's still pretty good. We're doing all the right things. And then Bitcoin ETFs, as far as inflows from yesterday at least. Yesterday we had a negative inflow across the board for them except for BlackRock. BlackRock was flat, it was zero reported there. So that's kind of interesting. They've been buying here like crazy here recently, but we had a pause there on them. And that's maybe why we saw Bitcoin come down a little bit today. But we got positive inflows from all the other miners or all the other ETFs. We're just waiting on BlackRock getting a report to see if BlackRock actually bought into it or bought out. So we'll see how that goes. And let's get into our stories here really quick. So Hive Digital announces upsized ATM under existing base shelf. So they amended the equity distribution agreement, restates and supersedes the previous equity distribution agreement dated October 3rd, 2025. I think that should be 2024. I think there's an error there. Among the company and the agents, pursuant to which the company sold common shares of the company for aggregate proceeds of $180 million. Pursuant to the amended equity distribution agreement, the company may sell up to an additional, I'm guessing, $119 million here roughly or so. So they're going to be pulling on the ATM, right? They're growing at 25 exahash by the end of the third quarter. And in order to do that, they're going to have to pull on the ATM and use that cash to buy the miners there. So we'll see how much they dilute. Hopefully they dilute at better times than right now. Stock has done a little bit better recently, but still not where it's been before. We'd like to see that go up even more, and maybe then they can pull on the ATM. But yeah, that's definitely part of the game plan here is for all these miners is use the ATM, grow, and increase their hash rate that way. So we'll see how much they pull on that. Coreweave had a really good quarter here. This came out, I think it came out today as well. Today they announced Q1 2025 earnings, first quarter results after going public. We've had a strong start to 2025 with major customer wins, industry-leading performance, and accelerating demand for our platform. You can read the whole press release here, but this is just a nice little graphic here that they provided. And yeah, I mean, this is really good. Q1 revenue, 982 million, up 428% year over year. Fantastic growth there. Adjusted operating income, 163 million, up 550% year over year. And then adjusted operating margin was 17%, up 3 points year over year. And then revenue backlog was 25.9 billion, up 63% year over year. They're just knocking it out of the ballpark. They're doing a fantastic job here. So they currently have 33 data centers supporting 420 megawatts of active power. We know they're going to be getting more with CORZ Scientific and with Galaxy Digital. On that one, 1.6 gigawatts of contracted power added 300 megawatts of capacity. I think the 300 megawatts capacity was through Galaxy there. And then they have plus 1,400 customers via weights and biases acquisition. And then 17.2 billion raised in debt and equity, including 1.4 billion in March 2025 IPO. So they're doing great. The stock was up nicely based on this news as well. And they're doing really, really good. So that one's working out pretty good. Historically, when we do get IPOs, they usually are a liquidity event for long-term investors at that point, and we see stocks usually go down. But man, they've done a fantastic job here. The stock's definitely done really good after IPO. So that was good there. Let's get into the miners here really quick. We'll get into Bitfarms first, and then we'll get into everybody else. So Bitfarms obviously reported their quarterly results here. I'm going to pull up my notes as well. I did take some notes on them as far as what, from the conference call at least. I listened to both Bitfarms' conference call today and Iren's conference call today. We'll get into that. Let me see, where are my notes here? I got to open up my notes. Hold on, guys. Doing this on my iPad here, where I put my notes. And there we go. That's opening up here. What do we got? It should update. Why isn't it updating? It might take a little second for it to update. Okay, so let's get into the numbers here really quick, and then we'll get into my thoughts on it, if it opens up here or not. I may open it up in my computer here. Revenue of 67 million, up 33% year over year, so that's pretty good there. And there we go. All right, my notes came in. Gross mining margin of 43%, down from 63% from Q1 of last year. Total energy pipeline of 1.4 gigawatts, 80% based in the United States. They're moving in that direction. They're moving towards HPC data centers and things like that. We talked about the Maguire Group loan that they have there for $300 million to fund initial HPC projects developments at Panther Creek, validating attractiveness of Bitfarms' potential HPC data center development pipeline. So that was good there. Looking at the numbers down below here, mining operations, current hash rate 19.5 exahash under management. So this includes their self-mining and hosting that they have. Hosting is a small, very, very small portion of that. Up 200% from 6.5 exahash under management as of March 31st, 2024. So yeah, they've done a fantastic job growing here. Got pretty close to 21 exahash that they were targeting, but didn't quite get there. Current efficiency of 19 watts per terahash, an improvement of 44% from 34 watts per terahash as of March 31st. So that's also good. They've done a nice job of changing out their older machines, getting newer machines in there that are more efficient. That has worked out great, right? They completed the Stronghold acquisition. They completed the sale of the Guayguza, Paraguay site to Hive Digital there. They secured the private debt facility as well for the $300 million. We talked about that. Strengthened management team with 2 new strategic hires: James Bond, SVP of HBCI, and Craig Hibbard, SVP of Infrastructure. Completed feasibility assessment for all U.S. sites with 2 strategic partners, ASG and Worldwide Technology, advancing HBC business. Okay. Initiated Bitcoin One program following the success of Synthetic HODL program in 2024. So those are all good things. And then Q1 2025 financial highlights: revenue of 67 million. We talked about that. Gross mining, we talked about that as well. General administrative expense of 20 million, inclusive of 2 million in non-recurring expense related to closing transaction with Stronghold and Hive, compared to 13 million in Q1. So that should come down for them in the coming quarters, I would imagine. But they might actually incur some expenses on trying to build out the HPC data centers there. Let's see, operating loss of 32 million compared to an operating loss of 24 million in Q1. Net loss of 36 million, or 7 cents per basic and diluted share, compared to a net loss of 6 million, or 2 cents per basic and diluted share in Q1. Adjusted EBITDA of 16 million, or 23% of revenue, down from 23 million, or 46% of revenue. And the company earned 693 Bitcoin. Production per 47,800. Total cash cost of production per BTC was 72,300. So a little higher than what I thought they're going to be at. I thought they were going to be right around like 61, 62,000. So I'm guessing maybe the electrical cost was a little bit higher than I was expecting it to be. But yeah, that's kind of where I was thinking they were going to be at. What else do we have here? Down here, average revenue per BTC was 92,500 in a quarter. which was still pretty good here. Direct cost per BTC was 47,000. Total cash cost was 72,300. Still pretty high, but at least under where Bitcoin price was actually, right? So they still have some profits in there, but just everything else that you include into it, that's how they get negative at that point. All right, let's take a look at the numbers that I do have here for them. Oh, let me talk to you guys about really quick, the conference call. Things that I noted here was final stages of master site development plan for Panther Creek to access the $250 million from Maguire. So that's good there. They also have a lot more control of energy pricing through trading in the PGM market. Hopefully we see prices come down over time with them on that. No deposits on long lead items for substation equipment. And then number of conversations with potential customers. Panther Creek most palatable by customers for quick turnaround and operations, locations, and megawatts potential. So that's kind of good news there that they'd have at least had some talks, right? There's nothing concrete on it. And I think a lot of these potential customers are looking at the feasibility study that they are working on getting, right? The master site development there. CapEx for 2025 should be less than 100 million. Sharon and Scrubgrass electrical improvements, basically. And then building out the possible data centers there as well. And they continue to hodl or sell depending on the circumstances. So they are going to hodl continuing here, but they're going to sell more depending on where Bitcoin price is at, what they need, and how much cash they need and things like that. So we will see. Nothing else was earth-shattering in that conference call that I listened to, at least. Maybe you guys heard something that I didn't hear, but I didn't hear anything that was groundbreaking there. They are looking to move more into like the HBCI business side of things. They think that there's more possibly revenue there than that is Bitcoin mining. Bitcoin mining is tough, right? It's up and down a lot of times. And you're always having to buy more machines, things like that. So then you need to get to scale. Them being at 19 exahash, I don't think is getting to scale. They need to be double that probably, if not a little bit more than that even to get to scale, to then offset a lot of the costs that they have there. But let's take the numbers that I have here for Bitfarms. So Bitfarms has, as of, I think I updated this already. That was fiscal year end. Let's update this for the latest numbers we got here. They had a little bit of dilution there, not much at least, what I can gather here. From them reporting, it looks like 0.42% from where they were. They're at 555 million. Let me know if you guys have the same number for them in share-wise. But that's what I have right now, based on what I saw in the report at least. That gives us about a 605 million market cap right now. And the performance of the last 12 weeks has been actually not that bad, right? They're down 18% from 12 weeks ago, up 6.9 from 8 weeks ago, up 29% from 4 weeks ago, and they're up 5.8 from last week. So they're doing much better here recently here. Current hash rate of them at 18.7. This is for the self-mining side of things. They're saying they're at 19 point something. So we're looking okay there. Bitcoin hodl is also worth about 103 million based on the last report that we got from them. All right, last 4 quarters revenue here. Revenue has been increasing here quite nicely, actually. It went up quite nicely, and it's continuing to go up quite nicely here in the current quarter estimated right now. But they had 66.85 million here in Q1. I have them for about 72 million in the current quarter they're in, which is in Q2. And their last 4 quarters operating costs have also increased. So I'd like to see that actually come down a little bit from where it is right now. My estimates for cost to mine one Bitcoin minus depreciation came in at 36,000 for them now, so that's down from the 44,000 in Q4, so that's looking good. Bitcoin mine quarterly has also increased here just a little bit from Q4 to Q1, so that's looking good there. Debt to equity ratio is still pretty good, 0.1689. I'm sorry, I got to take a sip of water. My throat's starting to get dry. Current ratio, higher is better. They're still at 2.63, so financially they're still set there. They're not hurting or anything like that. Total current assets, 224. Total current liabilities, 85 million, right? So they got plenty to pay those off if they need to. Going down here, let me see. I had them at 63.7 million in revenue. They came in at 64.8. I was off by 1.69 million, or 1.69 million, 1.69%. Better than where I was here in December and things like that. So that's definitely an improvement there. It just all depends when they sell it. I base it on the average Bitcoin price for the month, along with an average network hash rate for the month as well, and usually gets pretty close. So that's an improvement there, like seeing that. Going down here, we'll look at some of these things here in a second here, but the only thing that, we'll talk about the things that kind of stood out to me at least. Over here, cash and cash equivalents definitely came down to 38 from 59 million, right? What else do we have here? Receivable from disposable business. I'm guessing this is from the sale, Yaguzi site to Hive there. That's a new line item that they provided there. What else do we have here that kind of popped out? That was about it. So total assets, current assets at least improved to 224 million from 213. And then total assets went up to 770 million from 667 million. So that was good. Their big increase was the property and plant, right? They got, I don't know if they're including, I think they're including Stronghold in that as well. So that's an improvement of 507 million there. What else came up? That was it. Liabilities wise, trade payables and accrued liabilities went up double basically to 57 million from 25 million. Redemption obligation was 20 million there. That was a new line item, so that obviously increased from 36 million to 85 million there. On that one, definitely, I'm guessing that is going to come off here on the next probably report, so that should bring them back down a little bit better. What else? Total liabilities, 112 million from 59 million. Big increase on that was obviously over here. These two numbers definitely drove things up. And then total liabilities and stockholder equity was 770 million compared to 667 million, so roughly about 110 million increase. So that's what that all accounts for. Revenues, okay. So revenues, they split this stuff out a little bit differently here. So I did create some more line items for them. Self-mining, 64.8, like we talked about. Hosting, 571,000, I'm guessing that's going to be. Electrical services, 1 million. And energy sales was only 320,000. Cost of revenues here, energy, 25 million. Depreciation, amortization was 29 million. Hosting expenses was 7 million. So that's quite a bit there. If they're only making 571,000 and they're, wow, that's costing them a lot. I just noticed that. That's costing them a lot if that's the reason. Infrastructure expenses was 3.6 million. Electrical components and salaries was 877,000 on that one. And we used to keep it down here, but they changed stuff over on us a little bit on it. Other expenses here, selling and general administrative, 20 million compared to 18, so it's up a little bit. The 2 million should be coming off of there. Possibly we'll see where that ends up at. Salaries and share-based payments went up quite a bit here, 6.1 million from 2.4 that we had in Q4. Share-based payments, what else came up? That one actually went down to 4.4 from 7, so that was good. Professional services stayed about the same, up a little bit, not much. What else do we have here that was quite dropping? That's it over here. Losses on disposing of property and plants equipment was 5.5 million. I think that's for the Waiguzi site there. And then operating income loss was 102 million. Net income tax was 104 million. The net loss was 98 million. And then total comprehensive income was 85 million loss. That should be a loss there. I may have, let me see here. Should be a loss. I don't know why it's coming up as a positive, but that should be a loss. On those two things, but basically diluted share loss was 7 cents. They had a positive 3 cents here in Q4 based on my numbers, what I could figure out here roughly. But they lost 13 cents for the year in fiscal year 2024 here. Basically diluted, they put down 500 million shares, sorry. And then if we take out depreciation and all that stuff, they would have had maybe a 23% or 23 cent EPS if you take that out, if you want to look at it that way as well. All right, so overall, not too bad. It's nice that we're seeing revenues continuing to increase, which is good, and all those things. Dilution wasn't too bad. We also saw, what else? Just improvements overall on some things. They just got to keep the costs down on a lot of this stuff here and get something for HBCI deal, or otherwise all their efforts are going to be for naught, right? It's the same thing with them and every other miner that's trying to get an HBCI deal. They're all moving towards that direction, and hopefully they're not doing that blindly. I would think that a lot of these guys are having talks with customers, and the talks are actually pushing them in that direction. But we'll see. Here's what we got. We talked about, obviously, Bitcoin to mine here, roughly 36,000 per Bitcoin, roughly. We talked about the current ratio, all that. Price to book ratio, or book value of equity is 664. Enterprise value, 579 million. EBITDA was 96 million, looks like. EV to EBITDA was 5.9. Debt to EBITDA was 1.15. Revenue, like we talked about, was 64. General administrative was 20 million of that. And that came out to be 31%, basically. So it has come down a little bit here. We'd like to still see that come down even more, be more under 20, even under 10% if possible of revenue. So quite a bit of overhead there. And a lot of the miners have, I think, too much overhead, but I get it. You're public companies. You got to have people for X, Y, and Z to do their thing, and you got to pay them well. But yeah, that's still a lot, in my opinion, at least. Okay. Growth-wise, right? They're pretty much going to be at 19 exahash here going forward for the next probably year. They're not going to be adding any more machines or anything like that. So the only way they're going to generate more revenue, as I've talked about this in the past for other miners as well, is if Bitcoin goes up in value more so than the network hash rate goes up, right? If the network hash rate starts to skyrocket, percentage-wise gains faster than Bitcoin percentage-wise gains, then they're going to be actually possibly generating less revenue going forward. So that's a little quandary that they're in, and all the other miners as well. We need Bitcoin to go up faster than the network hash rate in order for them to generate more revenue from just being stuck at where they are right now. I still own some shares in Bitfarms. I sold off 2/3 of my shares ever since November, December of last year. And we'll see how Ben and company do turning the ship around, right? They've done a major job here turning the ship around currently from being kind of away from the United States. They had some sites in the United States, but they were mostly overseas in other countries, to now going full bore into the United States and the markets that are available to them here. I think that is a right path to go, but it's just a matter of getting customers there. I think they have also pretty good sites. And then, if they can get those things done the way they need to and get the permissions from PJM and markets and all that stuff to get the power they need, I think this might work out for them. But we need customers. Like everybody else, they need customers. We'll see what they get, if anything. But that's going to be one of those things. When that news does come out, it might be really fast where the stock does pump. But it also might not be until sometime in 2026 that we get this kind of news. So it's going to be a bumpy ride here going forward, I think. The only way this thing is going to go up is obviously Bitcoin price going up as well. The revenue is increasing based on that, and that's kind of what I'm seeing here. All right, based on that, I'm seeing looking at the last 3 quarters of revenue in the current quarter that we're in right now. I'm in between 310 and 465. I probably could take them down a little bit. I mean, there's not much growth in their hash rate growth going forward. So we could see them between 207 and 310. Right. Then if we look at the numbers for the revenue that they had for April, multiply that times 12 months, looking forward, we got them between 250 and 375. So they're still undervalued, in my opinion, quite a bit, quite a lot actually. They should be, $2 higher or $1 to $2 higher, somewhere around there to be kind of fairly. But again, everybody, if you're looking at 15 and you think that's fair, then we got them a little bit higher than that as well. Analysts have them about 450, so that would put us up at right around a P of 12 roughly, at least on the future revenue things going forward. Okay, so that is it for Bitfarms. Let's take a look at Iren. Iren had a fantastic report. They provided a second quarter where they were positive on the EPS, so they had really good growth here. 28% growth in profit after tax. Horizon 1A data center on track for H2. And they're pausing mining expansion at 50 exahash to focus on AI opportunities. Before, I think they said that they're going to be at 52. Now they're saying 50. Okay, fine. That's about 10 more exahash that they have to put in basically this month and next month. They said they are going to target that. They should be able to hit that. So that's still really good growth here, improving that as well. But here's the third quarter of fiscal year 2025 results. Revenue, record revenues of 148.1 million. 119 million was back in Q2 of fiscal year, so nice improvement there. 24% increase in Bitcoin mining revenue, 141, 33% increase in AI cloud services revenue. So that's also good. This is the part of the business where they have their own servers basically, and they rent them out, lease them out, whatever, and they're generating more revenue on that. So that's actually pretty good there. They haven't really talked about anything on the ROI on those. I know they were talking about last year where they were looking to be more like 3 years ROI on those. Be interesting to find out if that has improved at all. On the Bitcoin mined, obviously 1,514 there, which is good. Nice improvement from the prior quarter as well. Total net electricity cost increased to 36.5 million. Obviously, their hash rate increased. That's going to result in higher electrical costs. Right? They stated here primarily driven by a 30% increase in average operating hash rate. Other costs remained relatively flat at 25.3 million. So that's good. And record adjusted beta of 83.3 million or 62.6 million from the prior quarter as well. Talked about that. Profit after income tax of 24 million. Cash and cash equivalents of 184 million. Growth outlook, Bitcoin mining, right there at 40 exahash right now. They're getting to 50 exahash. Strong resilient margins in Q3. $23 all in hash cost versus $54 average hash price. Right, good margins there. A little bit over 50%, I believe. 41,000 all in cash cost per Bitcoin mined versus 93,000 revenue per Bitcoin mined. Also really good numbers there. Setting the benchmark for performance, best in class fleet efficiency, 15 joules per terahash, 3.3 cents per kilowatt, chilled power price. We'd have to take a look at what the footnote is there, 5. What else do we have here? I think that's it. Run rate revenue now 28 million annually from AI cloud services. So that's good there. And yeah, that's all I got highlighted here. There is something interesting here. Actually, two things that are interesting from the report here. Note 19 in the report, contingent liabilities. Non-recourse SPVs, special purpose vehicles, if you remember those were back from like 21 and 22, those years. They got about, I think it was 3.5, I think it was like 3.5 exahash of machines that were under these special purpose vehicles. And they're in a battle right now with the lenders or whoever's taking ownership of it. But they stated here, New York NYDIG, who was the lender under limited recourse equipment financing loans to IECA3 Holdings and IECA4 Holdings, bankrupt entities for which PricewaterhouseCoopers is currently acting as trustee. Non-recourse SPVs has brought claims against the non-recourse SPVs and Iren Limited, all claims except the oppression remedy, which has been dismissed by the trial court, was unsuccessful. On 27th of June 2024, the oppression claim was remitted by the Court of Appeal to the trial court for consideration. The matter has not been listed in the trial court as at the date of this interim financial statements. So we'll have to see what that plays out like. Right? It looks like it's going to go to trial. We'll see where that takes us. That's still going to play out probably for a while. We're looking probably a year to two out after that. And then this is kind of interesting as well. U.S. importation tariff. In April of this year, the group received a notice of action from the U.S. Customs and Border Protection challenging the country of origin of mining hardware imported by the group to the United States between April 2024 and February 2025. The NOA asserted that the country of origin of the mining hardware is China and notified the group of an assessment of U.S. importation tariff of 25%. The seller has represented to the group that the country of origin of the mining hardware was not China. Certificates of origin and or commercial invoices and shipping documents for all the mining hardware shipments assessed in the NOA have been provided to the group to support this claim. This group intends to contest the NOA and the associated tariff cost of approximately, $100 million there. While the outcome of this matter is uncertain at this time, the group has determined it is not probable that it will result in future cash outflow, and as such, no provisions was recorded as of the 31st of March. Okay, so if they got the invoices and everything else, they should be fine. There shouldn't be any concerns there, but man, yeah, the border control, Customs and Border Patrol needs to get their act together. Because a lot of these miners, not just Iren here, but Cleanspark, Mara, Bitfarms, they're all been buying stuff from pretty much Bitmain. And if they haven't gotten anything like that, why are they giving it to Iren? Is it because Iren's based out of Australia now, or at least was, or is still, but they're going to be U.S. domiciled coming up here in the new year for them, which is going to be end of Q4 for them, Q2 for us. So I just thought that was kind of interesting there on that one, just to keep you guys abreast on that. And let's take a look at the numbers that we have here for them. Also, while we're talking about Iren and everything else, the conference call. Oh my gosh, the conference call was like 40 some odd minutes of them just selling. It was basically a sales pitch on the HBCI potential there that they have. It's like they were trying to reach customers for that potentially. That's kind of what it sounded like to me. Yes, they were kind of bragging about what they have. It's all great, but it sounded like a sales call. Pitching their sites and everything else for HBCI, which is fine. But then we got into the Q&A, and I have actually nothing that was of interest or anything that was new that we didn't already know about. So I didn't actually write down anything. You guys are more than welcome to listen to it. It's probably like an hour and 15 minutes long for the conference call, something like that. It was pretty long. So that was kind of interesting, but we'll leave it at that. Let's take a look at the numbers that I have for Iren here really quick, and we'll get into you guys' Q&A as well. So Iren, let me see here if I have this updated as well. Q2 2025 shares should be Q3 for them. Shares did increase a little bit here to 224 million from 218 million. That is a 2.52% increase on that. That gives us 1.78 billion in market cap right now as it is based on today's stock price close. Performance over the last 12 weeks has not been great. Right, they're down 35% from 12 weeks ago, down 1.5% from 8 weeks ago, but 4 weeks ago they're up 25%, and then last week they were up 7.81%. So that's at least a little bit better there. But yeah, they got beaten down along with a lot of the miners, and not just the miners, but companies that were in HBCI plays. They got they got kind of pummeled a little bit here in the beginning of the year. DeepSeek FUD, other things, Microsoft, putting out there that they're canceling some contracts, some things like that. That drove everybody down, unfortunately. Current hash rate, right? 40 exahash. They don't hodl anything. They sell everything that they mine here. They're getting to 50 exahash here in the next month and a half or so. So that's going to be good. Continuation of growth. I mean, you can see where they were last year at 9.4 exahash. Fantastic growth here for them this year. They've done a fantastic job growing and building out their data centers. So congrats to those guys there. Last 4 quarters revenue here. Current quarter came in at 148 million. That's really good. Nice improvement over Q2. Current quarter, I'm estimated around 167 million roughly. We'll see where that comes in at. And then last 4 quarters operating costs minus depreciation. Q3 came in at 68 million for them. A little bit of increase, obviously, from 59. And that is mainly because I believe the electricity cost of the added machines that they had plugged in there. Custom 1 Bitcoin minus depreciation, I have them at 26,000, still really low there. It did increase a little bit here, but still a nice improvement that they had over Q1 from last year. Bitcoin mine quarterly continues to increase, which is nice, and we should see another increase in that as well for Q4 for them, for this quarter that they're in right now, which is Q2 for us. Based on that information here, going down here, let's see here. I was off by 2% on them. I had them at 144 million in revenue. They came in at 141, so I was off by just 2% on that. Still within my range that I want to be in, within 2.5% or so. So happy with that. Not completely satisfied, but I'm happy with it. That I was at least that close on it. Going down here into their numbers, not too many drastic changes here. Current assets did improve to 184 million. Cash and cash equivalents, right, from 98. They've been pulling on the ATM. Amounts receivable and prepaid went down a little bit here to 21 from 23. And then we had prepayments and other assets went up to 37 from 25. Total current assets is now 254 million from 148 million. So that's a pretty sizable improvement there. Big double was obviously the cash, which is from the ATM. Let's see your assets held for sale. And, that's actually come down to 1.3 from 2.9. Property and equipment increased to 1.5 billion now from the 1.2 that they reported in Q2. What else do we have here? That was the size of computer hardware prepayments was 97 million from 36 million. I think that's for the rest of the machines that they're going to be getting in here to get to 50 exahash there. The additional 10 exahash. And what else do we have here? Financial assets at fair value through profit or loss, that came down to 34 from 56. So total assets was at 1.989 billion here compared to 1.85. Nice improvement there. Current liabilities, trade and other payables went up to 172 from 144. And what else? Embedded derivatives went down to 23 million from 67 million, so that's good. Big increase here. What else do we have here? Convertible notes went up a little bit here to 322 million from 318. So total current liabilities is up down actually to 553 million from 559, so that's good. Total liabilities is 564 million compared to 565, so down a little bit, at least 1 million there. And the total liabilities and stockholder equity was at 1.9 compared to 1.8, so that's good. Revenues, obviously great job on revenues growing here. Self-mining increased to 141 million from 113, so that's great. AI cloud services also increased from 2.6 to 3.5 million. Other service revenue actually went down to 3.2 from 3.4. Not sure what that is actually. Going down here, depreciation amortization, 47 million. Kind of figured that was going to increase because, well, that was going to increase nonetheless. More mining equipment getting installed, you got to depreciate it. That's going to be a result of that. Electricity charges also increased to 39 million from 30 million, so that's still not bad, right? They installed more hash rate, that's fine. Anything else that pops out here on that? Not really. Operational profit loss was 35 million profit compared to 31 million here, so a little bit of improvement there. Finance expense went up to 7.8 from 6.2. And then profit loss before income taxes was 29 compared to 21. So that was good. Foreign exchange gains, that was a nice contributor there as well. Instead of having a loss of 4.5, they only had a loss of 318. And let's see, net loss gain income for the period was 24 million. Total, I think that's it. Gross profit, net loss was 24 million, so 11 cents. I think last night's stream I said, what did I say? Between 9 and like 13, I think I said, 9 or 14. EPS, well, they came in at 11, so right in my range there. Within a couple pennies of where I thought they were going to be, right in that range. So they came in pretty good here. Also, the cost to mine, right, they said, what was it, 40 What did they state there? 40, not this one. I need this one over here. Where did it go? Came in pretty close on it as well on the, or scrolled up too far. 41K all in cash cost per Bitcoin mined right for the quarter. I had them at, where did I put that at? Break even, there it is. 41, I had them at 41 based on the Q2 results for them and extrapolating the data into Q3 for them. Came pretty close. Other ones are a little bit off on that. I think it's because they mix some things in there. Makes it a little bit tougher to figure that stuff out. But happy on that one. All right, so there's that. Let's go back to Iren here. So great quarter, second quarter EPS, which is fantastic to see. Going up here into some of these metrics up there. Let's see what do we got here. 26,000 for Bitcoin, like we talked about. Talked about debt to current ratios as well. Book to value was 1.4, price to book ratio 1.25, enterprise value 2.16, beta was 84 million, and then debt to EBITDA was 6.6. And this I really love seeing here is revenue was 148 million, general administrative compensation was 15 million. That's only 10% of the revenues. Love seeing that, and that has been actually coming down here as time has progressed. It has gone up and down, but overall it has been improving as they have been installing more and more hash rate. All right, so that is fantastic news there. So congrats to the team at Iren. I own shares in Iren as well, and that's one of the reasons why I own them is because the operations are fantastic. They are growing tremendously here, and we'll see how they do with the HBC stuff for Clearwater, even at Childress, and time will tell on that one. Somebody mentioned in the comments that they are in strong negotiations with customers there maybe. So maybe they do get something, which would be fantastic. And at that point, the stock should do much better. Because right now, based on the last 3 quarters and the current quarter that we're in, I'm between $14.99 and $22.48. They're at $7.97. Definitely way undervalued from where they should be. Right, analysts have them at $23 for the high recently. And then if we look at the revenues for April times 12, looking forward, I'm between $20 and $30. They're nowhere near that. They have been beaten down, and I don't know why the case is, right? They're the only miner that has had so far 2 consecutive quarters of being EPS positive on here. So they're doing everything right. They got the costs under control. They're getting to scale with Bitcoin mining, but yet the stock is not being rewarded for it. Why? Is it the 1 billion ATM? Possibly. I think that might be spooking investors there. But why are they the only ones getting positive EPS? Well, we kind of touched on it a little bit at least. The main reason is low cost of electricity, 3.3 cents. They keep their other costs down low as well for SG&A, everything else. That helps tremendously, right, being around 10% of revenues. And just great operations. So you take those 3 things, low cost, low overhead, and great operations, and you can actually squeeze out an EPS positive quarter 2 times in a row. So that's why they are the way they are. The other companies have a little bit more bloat in them, and they need to do something about that bloat. Get that down. Either that or bring up their mining scale even higher to offset some of the bloat that they have there. But that's the only way you're going to do it. And they're a perfect example of how to do things right. They made some mistakes in the beginning, right, with the special purpose vehicles. I wouldn't call that, I'd say that it was maybe a mistake, but they were able to get out of it kind of unscathed, more or less, which was good. Didn't really hurt them in the pocketbook. They basically couldn't afford to pay the miners anymore, or the machines, and they just gave them back and said, here you go. The company's going bankrupt under those special purpose vehicles. So they had no impact on them, and that allowed them to continue to grow going forward here. Hopefully other miners take note of what they're doing here and they try to emulate it. This is the way to do it. Other companies are close to that as well, pretty close, but not there yet. But yeah, they need to, other companies I think just need to get costs under control for electricity and some overhead costs as well. All right, so that is it. That's it on them. We'll see how they do going forward. I think they might be able to get something there, but the sites are pretty big for what they have for HBCI, right? They have over 2 gigawatts of space. I thought I heard something in the conference call where they're saying that some of the prospective customers are looking for like 200 to 250 megawatts. So maybe you can subdivide those areas into different customers potentially for that, because having somebody take the 2 gigawatts is a big ask. There's not many customers that can do that. that will take that much. You only have basically the hyperscalers, and we haven't really seen anything major from them, right? We've seen, I think, Microsoft get in with Coreweave to get some data centers for them, or at least some rack space for them. And we've seen it also with OpenAI going with Coreweave as well. And Coreweave's been working with Core Scientific and Galaxy, so we'll see who can pick up the slack there, who can actually get all those megawatts. It might be where they actually get subdivided out to 100 megawatts, 200 megawatts, 300 megawatts, whatever it might be, until it's all used up. We'll see if that's the way it's going to work out. All right, but I wish them all the best. The stock should be much higher from where it is right now, at least in my opinion. I think you guys agree that they are definitely undervalued from where they should be, especially with all the megawatts that they have coming and going their way. The one thing I remember now is they're still building out, not really building out, they're getting all the electrical, everything else cooked up at Clearwater. That should be, I think they said, energized in Q2 of 2026. So power will be to that area in 2026, and then they can build out on that. So we're going to have also, kind of like with Bitfarms, they're going to be at 50 exahash for the next year possibly. And again, the only thing that's going to help them out is Bitcoin price going up faster than network hash rate. Otherwise, they're going to be generating less and less revenue. All right, that is it. Let's get into Q&A. As always, spreadsheets are available to my Patreon members. Link is down in the description for that, and I will update this for you guys. I didn't do that today. I was just crazy busy today. But I will do that tomorrow, get this out to you guys tomorrow as well for the updates that we had here today, and then yesterday's updates for the short information. So that'll be coming out. All right, let's get into Q&A. One other good news. Aiden from Hive, the CEO president there, has agreed. We're going to do the live stream on Friday at 5:30 p.m. I'm going to ask him some questions in the beginning, and then we'll open it up for, obviously, you guys to take part as well through questions in the comments. So as long as you guys keep the questions respectful, I'll pull them up. I don't know exactly how much time we'll have, whether it's going to be half an hour or an hour, but we'll do that. That should be interesting and kind of fun. I've never done that before. Had a CEO on to interview, so it should be a lot of fun. I'll provide you guys with a bunch of stuff probably tomorrow, some graphics and things like that, and I got to come up with a link for it also. So I got a lot of work to do, but it should be fun. All right, let's get into Q&A. As always, questions, if you could preface those with a question mark or a Q, would appreciate it. And I'm going to work my way to the top and work our way down, as always. Wow, there's a lot of stuff going on here in the comments. All right, might be a little bit longer night than I thought it was going to be. Let's see, where are we at here? Okay, covered that already. Covered that in the comments a little bit here earlier on. All right, Yellow Gambler says maybe we see a double top like we did back in 2021 at 69,000. Something always screws up the rally. I don't think so, but I'm saying never say never, right? But I think adoption is happening more so than we have here so far. All right, what else we got here? Riot 250 says Iren is all smoke and mirrors. I wouldn't say all smoke and mirrors. They're the only ones that are still EPS positive, right? They've grown tremendously in the past year. It's not all smoke and mirrors. The HBCI stuff is questionable, but it's questionable with all the miners. Let's see. Par says Year of the Snake. Is that the Year of the Snake of the Chinese, right? I think they have the different animals there. Rex says bull market ends October, basically 550 days after the halving. That's historically what has happened. But this cycle is completely different from what we've seen in the past, right? I mean, you can see that already before the halving. We had to hit a new all-time high. That's never happened. We've had Bitcoin go up quite nicely and then pull back 30% over a much longer extended time frame, like 3, 4, 5 months, and then goes back up. We had another correction here going down 30%. That's taken us roughly 3 to 4 months, and now we're starting to go back up. So I don't think it's anywhere near like it's been in the prior cycles. I think we're going to have an extended cycle. All right, what else we got here? Nell's got a question here. What's the deal with Bitfarms no longer providing their monthly production update? Any thoughts on that? This seems to be a trend. Where did you hear that? Did they say they're not going to be doing that anymore? Did I miss that? I thought it was Core that was in. Core is the only one that I know, and it looks like HUD 8 is not doing it either, but I think HUD 8 is going to put that off onto American BTC going forward. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, I could see why they're not doing it if they're not growing. Okay, maybe that's why you don't do it. I don't know. But it's going to be bad for me. Who am I going to track that? I'm going to have like Cleanspark is the only miner to track. They're the only ones that are still pure play Bitcoin miners. All right. Question: why is Hive no longer disclosing their holdings? They usually always have it in front and cent, but they didn't show it this month, and apparently they move most Bitcoin out of their wallet. We'll find that out when we have Aiden on Friday. I did ask that. Frank reached out to me also yesterday. I didn't have a chance to respond to him. I responded to him today via messages in X. But I did point out, what's going on with HODL. You guys typically have reported that. It's always been consistent, great operations, everything else. But you've always reported the HODL. Why is that not included? That leads to speculation. Did they sell all their HODL? Did they have the HODL stolen? Did they use it for ASIC machines? What's going on there? Is it being backed by a loan? Provide some information there. So maybe Aiden will be able to provide some information on that. When you think miners will start moving, like in 2021? I would have thought they would have started moving a long time ago. But like I said, this cycle is completely different than the last cycles. So I would say if Bitcoin starts going back, if Bitcoin starts going to like 120,000, 125,000, 150,000, we should see the miners at that point run. But we'll see. Okay, let's see. All right. Another question here. Seb, what did CORZ add to outstanding shares? The way they reframed an SEC report, it gave a total, but not how much they added. For CORZ, I have them at, let me see here. For CORZ, based on the report, and I think I even said you guys to question this as well. Based on the report, I have them at 363 million shares outstanding, roughly, on that one. And nobody else said that was wrong, so I'm going with that. Now, if it's something else, let me know, but that's kind of what I saw in the report based on that, okay? Okay, covered that. Neville says, I know I've said this before, but there is no way Bitfarms survives after the statements, a stalemate with Riot has concluded without getting a client. They need a client, or they need to grow their hash rate, right? That's the only way they're going to survive. They need to get to scale. If they're going to put all their marbles or chips on a customer, that's fine, but you better damn well get a customer there. Because if not, all that effort, everything else was all for naught. And at that point, you could have been expanding your Bitcoin mining, getting to scale and all that stuff. So that's kind of the way I look at it. Parra says this will be common. Those that fail to do so will go bankrupt. Not necessarily. As long as Bitcoin continues to go up, they're still going to be able to possibly generate more revenue. As long as, like I said, as long as Bitcoin price goes up faster than our hash rate, we should be okay. But if we get that eventual squeeze, or if we get that prior cycle bear market going down 70% on Bitcoin, well then, yeah, that's going to be painful. So they definitely do need a customer just like everybody else. All right. Iren's quarterly operating hash rate is 29.4. How long after the full 50x hash installed will they report at 50? Well, the operational hash rate, that's the average, right? So they were at 20 at one point, 25 at the other point, 30 at the other, that's the average. Or if they were at 25, 30, and 35, that's the average of 29, right? But they should be 50 exahash fully installed by the end of June. Parra says, do not touch Bitfarms, sell at break even. But then again, right, they get a good news story that they got an HBCI deal, and all things are going off the races. When you answer questions, I'm answering questions right now. After everything else that we talk about, I always get to those. Let's see. I'm trying to find other questions. You guys have comments here between, let's see. All right. Okay, Manu says, having a hash rate increase has crushed these miners, not profitable or barely at 100,000 BTC. All hoping now is on BTC going higher next, don't think they will survive without having free energy. They will survive as long as Bitcoin goes, like people are saying, Bitcoin goes to 100, goes to like $1 million, right? The next halving event is basically 3 years away from now. Could Bitcoin go to like 350,000, 400,000 in the next 3 years? I think it's possible, right? So that could still save. It depends where Bitcoin price is at. If Bitcoin price is still pumping up higher, and we have an extended cycle where it just continues going up higher and higher because of all the adoption, well, they're going to be fine, right? They might actually do better than they did in prior cycles because they don't have that 70% drawdown on Bitcoin. But we'll see. Sorry, trying to find other questions here. You guys have a lot of comments between yourselves, which is fine, which is great. I'm just trying to keep up with it as best I can and see if there's any questions there. Especially a lot of comments between Para and Georgie. Let's see what we got here. Well, there's a statement Mara is going to dump from KB Dubs. What else? Para says Argentina Shutdown for Bitfarms, 13% cut at exahash. Yeah, I saw that, or I heard about that. Haven't seen anything concrete from that. But yeah, that doesn't bode well. Ben needs to be replaced. Give him time. He's only been there, what, a year? Not even a year, I don't think. Give him time to see what we can do with it. He's just turned the ship around. Okay. All right. Rohit's got a question here. Please ask Aiden. They have not been able to move HBC revenue even a bit. Last year they projected 250,000 a day. I know this year, also they are at 10 million annual revenue, not 100 million. Yeah, we've seen that. They get a little bit over ambitious, I think, on their projections on things. And it wasn't just them. There were other companies that did it also. But yeah, they definitely projected that. And I have to look back. I don't know if they have any of the newer GPUs from NVIDIA as far as for like the H100s or the B100s or what's the other ones? B200s, I think. I don't know if they have any of those. I know they were running a lot of their stuff on the older GPUs that were used for Ethereum mining. I think that might be the reason why you're not seeing huge improvements in revenue there. But now, that's a good question there. Remind me, or if anything, post that question when we do the live stream on Friday. But that would be a good question there. But you know, what's the deal there? Okay, Sigiri says, Iren a little over 2 years ago, $1.02 with market cap under 100 million. They have been definition of accretive growth, why they are best performing and only profitable miner. I would agree. Yeah, they've done a fantastic job here. All right, what else we got here? Rob says, if you remember, way back, Ben was totally against HBC AI. Then, for some reason, he totally flipped. He's not the only one. Jason from Riot was against HBC AI, right? Going back just, what, 6 months maybe? Probably 6 months, I would say. 6, maybe 9 months going back. Jason was the same way. We've seen other miners talk about it the same way. So, they're not the only ones. All right. Hines has got a question here. Iren, Cleanspark, Riot. If Bitcoin reaches 150, 200,000 and miners don't rock it, would it prove it's a failed business model? Well, it wouldn't prove that it's a failed business model. It would prove that it's a failed investment for retail, at least, right? For us, it didn't work out that way. This would be a failed for retail, but not for them. They could be still making a heck of a lot of money, but the miners don't go up in value for us. It doesn't mean anything, right? It just means that we put our money in the wrong basket. Sean says, with all the big companies buying Bitcoin and Trump talking about it and it being all over the news and internet, should Bitcoin and the miners be higher in price right now, or is this just the normal? This is normal, I think. The miners, I think, should be higher in price as it is, but Bitcoin goes through this kind of correction phase where we just kind of ended that just about 2 weeks ago or so, or maybe even 3 weeks ago. We ended that and we're going back up, but we have these corrections, accumulation phases where basically the big guys drop the price of Bitcoin down, trying to scare people out of it. So you sell your Bitcoin. I sell my Bitcoin, but I'm never selling it. And then they can buy it at a lower price again and repeat. Rinse and repeat, basically. So this is par for the course. Let's see. What is the outlook for Bitfarms with its recent earnings report? Will it still be able to rise? It will be able to rise as long as Bitcoin goes up and if they can get a HBCI deal there. Doesn't have to be a huge deal, just something there. If they can get something going, it should help out as well. But Bitcoin going up rises all boats, right? Rob says the whole market's beat down. Yep, especially the miners have been beaten down. Neil's got a question here. Is it too risky for Bitfarms to use 300 million in credit to build a data center with no customer in sight? Will they have their own machines to fill the data center if they don't land an AI gig? Well, if they build that data center, I mean, you could fill it out with some of these newer ASICs that are coming out that are also chip-cooled or water-cooled for the chip directly. So you can put those. Those are usually like a 4U rack mount ASIC. So you could do that, right? Nothing else. But I think part of the deal with Maguire there is Maguire's giving him 50 million to start out with. And then I think Maguire also has some context, some people in the know that might be looking for HBCI, which might then push customers, whoever it might be, towards Bitfarms if they can get the site assessments, the feasibility studies, all that stuff done. And there is definitely potential for it there. So I think that's kind of where it's going through. It's not like they're going to be spending $300 million on a data center, which you can't even, you're looking at, usually it's like 10 million per megawatt. So to build out a data center. So at that point, what are we looking at? 30 megawatts would be what, 300 million? Yeah. So you could do only a 30 megawatt data center, right? That's not going to be enough for it. It's just enough to get them into that space, possibly help them out that way. But it's kind of like Code 2 investing also in Hut 8, right? What was it? 100 million there? Or was it 50 million? I can't remember now. One of those two. They also invested towards HBC potential. So they might drive somebody there for them. And it's just the way, it's who you know and who can grease your wheels a little bit. All right. Financial earnings here. Tune in late and looking forward to listening back on your analysis here. Been hearing a lot about Iren, and you've got a lot of alpha as always. I appreciate that. Thanks. If you guys don't follow Financial Earning on X, definitely do that. He's got a lot of great posts as well and YouTube videos as well. What else we got here? Gary, Iren lower SBC than other miners. Stock-based compensation. Management gets benefit based on stock price improvement only, not automatically like others. Miners, so tied to shareholder success, they succeed. Yeah, that's the way it should be. It should be based on not just getting to X amount of exahash. It should be based on where is your stock. Your stock does well, shareholders do well, you profit at that point as well. I like that one. Question here, BitDeer. Do you think their seal miners have the potential to compete with Bitmains and miners' rigs in the future? If so, how do you think this impacts their valuation? It depends on a couple of things. So number one, can they keep up with Bitmain and keeping the rigs efficient, right? Getting them lowered in joules per terahash, kind of like Bitmain's been doing. And it might be also that BitDeer might be able to overtake them because if you recall, BitDeer was a spun-off of Bitmain, right? Where I think it was the two co-owners there, or two guys that started it, had some beef with each other later on, and they went their separate ways. BitDeer was basically a spun-off, so they know also how to build machines there. The other part of it is, can they get customers for it, right? A lot of people are entrenched with Bitmain because they get these discounts, right? If you buy X amount, you can also lock in prices for a longer period of time. Can they do those similar things as well and keep the prices competitive as well? So if they can do those things and get foundry time, fab time to build these things out, the ASICs basically, or the chips, then yeah, they can definitely compete and they could definitely get a higher valuation of it because then they got revenue from selling the ASICs. They can also build them a lot cheaper for themselves, increase their hash rate that way, and now they're looking at HBCI as well. So yeah, their valuation could go much higher. And they got a lot of growth here happening later on this year and into next year as well. So yeah. All right. KBW says Mara is going to dump back to $12. Is that a buy? If it goes down to $12, I would think so. Yeah, that's going to be basically their valuation on their HODL, Bitcoin HODL, is going to be probably higher than their market cap at that point. It just doesn't make any sense there. Can you show us your price target for Hive? Yeah, I can show you that. Let me see. Let me pull that up. Hive here. Let's go down. Where am I going to go? Screen. I want to look at the screen. So for Hive, I have them at right now between 511 and 766 right there. Nowhere near that. Yes, there's issues there. High cost of mining right now. But with them getting 25 exahash later on this year, that should help things out. Where the costs, overhead costs come down based on revenues and things like that, percentage of that. That should help out. But yeah, they're not being valued. I mean, it's basically, what is that? 2.5x from where they are right now is kind of where they kind of should be, at least at the lower end, be valued at. But there's some reasons for it, right? We're going to have some ATM dilution. We're going to have, well, they got to grow. That's the big thing, is they got to get to 25 exahash as fast as possible. That's kind of where I see them at right now. Right, Q&A here. And we're going on an hour already as it is. Let's see if we can, oh, we're getting close to the end of the questions here. Okay. So we're doing pretty good. Pete, appreciate it. Yeah, come on, guys. Where are the, and gals, where are the thumbs up? Let's see. Zach says, I think Bitfarms should sell to Riot as soon as possible. Those who are running Bitfarms are incompetent. Well, there's definitely a lot of turmoil there. Not going to sugarcoated as well. Last year, for sure. This year, I think it's better. We'll see where they go. Give them a little time. Rob says, Ben wouldn't go all in unless they had clients in the wind. I'm thinking the same thing, right? You just don't go on a hunch that this is going to work out really well. You want to have something at least, I would say something definitive, but you want to have at least a good grasp of the potential there. And if you do, then you kind of go in on it. David says it's not possible for Bitcoin to hit $1 million. That would put the total value of Bitcoin at 21 trillion. The GDP of China is 17 trillion. It would crash the stock market. Gold is valued at, what's gold at? 20 some trillion dollars, right? The real estate market is valued at even higher numbers, I believe. So I don't think it's not possible. I think it is possible. Okay. Mark says U.S. Customs is terrible. I told myself I'd never travel again. They treat people like criminals. See, I've traveled before. I don't travel that much, but I've traveled before. And the only time I got checked twice was in Mexico. When we landed there, we got through customs, and then we were just waiting, I think, on our ride. And some security guy comes up to me and wants to check my bag and everything else. I'm like, yeah, fine. Go check my bag. I got nothing to hide. Got nothing in there, just maybe some meds and things like that. Check it. And then as we're leaving Mexico again, we're at the gate waiting for the plane, to board the plane. And again, I got checked. I don't know what's my bald head, me being tall and skinny. If that has anything to do with it, they think I'm a criminal or something. I don't know. But yeah, I got checked only twice there. Never had any issues otherwise other than that. But I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of stories lately. I think the administration is pushing kind of hard on people coming in. That's why we're having less travel here to the United States, which is not good. Let's see. So far this earnings season, which miners have performed the best in your opinion and why? Iren has done a fantastic job. Cleanspark has gotten a little bit better. They got beat up by the FSB impact, like other miners have also. Other than that, I think those are the two that have done the best as far as growing the revenue, things like that, and just great operations overall. But Cleanspark still has to do a little bit better job on the electricity cost. Maybe they can negotiate something there. If they can get that lowered, that would be great for them. And then just lower the overhead cost a little bit more. But they're still, I think they're like at 10% or something like that, or lower than that. So they're doing a good job there. It's just the stock-based compensation's got to be fixed a little bit. All right. What will cause a reprice of the miners if you believe they are undervalued? A reprice will be if you get a deal for HBC with somebody, one of the miners here, for a good amount. That might reprice the miners that are looking to get to HBC AI. If somebody gets bought out by a hyperscaler or something like that, the megawatts there, right? The potential for the megawatts, that could reprice them as well. Bitcoin going up in value, that should reprice them as well because they're going to be generating more revenue that way. So there's a couple of avenues that could possibly reprice them quite quickly and violently, actually, if any of those things happen. There might be other things that could also help out there. All right. Okay. Par says there will not be any customers this year. Don't buy the BS. Are you talking about Bitfarms or in general? I think in general, I'm still skeptical. I'm still skeptical on the HBCI business for the miners here. I could see it with maybe smaller sites, maybe up to 100, 200 megawatt sites or something like that. Okay. There might be somebody that would want to possibly work on that. But when you're talking about these larger sites, your pool of potential customers gets much, much smaller at that point. And a lot of those guys like to have things done a certain way. So we'll see. Hines, not a question. Thanks again, Seth, for what you do. Glad your health is under control. Let's all, yeah, thank you. It's definitely under control. Let's remember, if the miners make us all rich, let's think about a meetup for a small community. Thanks, and great luck to everyone, or something like that, I guess. Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, we'll see where we are in the next 6 to 9 months, I think. All right. Par says, we bought miners because they are BTC proxy, not because of AI. Stanley Druckenmiller, if the thesis of your investment changes, let it go. Yeah, I would agree with that. Remember also, Stanley Druckenmiller invested in TeraWulf. And TeraWulf got a customer because there's connections there, right, between Stanley Druckenmiller and Core 42. So it's a lot of times who you know that can get you the potential customers there. But yeah, I agree. Let's see. Do you regret not holding MicroStrategy spot over Bitcoin miners yet? I would say let's see where we end up by the end of the cycle here. If by the end of the cycle, miners are still crap like they have been here recently, then yeah, we'll regret it. Right now, MicroStrategy has definitely done better. And last cycle, that wasn't the case, right? The miners actually outperformed, so that's kind of where I was basing my thesis on for going in this time around. But yeah, it's played out much, much differently. Andrea says, way to go, Pete. Yes, gang, hit the like button. Guys, yeah, it doesn't cost you anything, just one little click. I don't think you even burn 1 calorie doing that. All right. What price of Bitcoin Bitfarms can do 3 USD, 4 USD, 5? I mean, you're looking at Bitcoin having to be probably at $3. You're looking probably at Bitcoin being at 200,000 at that point. And then we're going north of that, unless they get a good news on a deal with a customer, right? That could push them up higher faster. Let's see, question, did you listen to Bitfarms call? I did listen to it. Ben was good. He sounded decisive. He sounded like he's in control, like what they're doing, as they believe in what they're doing. And we'll see how it plays out for them. All right. Is it worth holding 40,000 Bitfarms at an average 160 at this current state of the company? Boy, that's a lot. I never had 40,000 shares. I had close to 20,000 shares before I started selling a large portion of it last year, at the end of last year. $1.60 is not too bad. My average right now is $1.40 something. So you're just a little bit higher than I am right now. The only way, like I said before, is if you believe that others will run faster, and there's no guarantee that they will. There's no guarantee in life in anything. But if you believe one of these other guys could run possibly faster, with Bitcoin going up to 125, 150,000, whatever it might be, then it might make sense to do it, right? If you can get more percentage gains, but that's your call there. Mike says, question, I'm still in good profits on miners, double my investment, but feel bad about not selling at last year's high. Do you think there's a good chance we revisit those prices? Last year's high when we were at $24 for Cleanspark, Mara was at what, 30 some odd dollars? I think we'll get there. As long as Bitcoin doesn't go back down to 50,000, I think we'll get there. So if Bitcoin is planning to get to 200,000, 250,000, whatever it might be this year, then yeah, I think we will. There's a strong chance that we will get there. Yellow 7 needs to be checked. Running drugs to cover losses from miners. This was before. Well, this was probably what? Gosh, we're going back now 6 years or so. Last time I was in Mexico, we're going to Mexico this time around. But I think it was like 5 or 6 years ago. And at that point, I was actually, helping a friend run the operation on Bitcoin mining. So it was a different time. But yeah, I don't know. I got checked twice for some reason. Like I said. Let's see, price targets for Bitfarms, Cleanspark, and Iren. It all depends where Bitcoin price goes, right? If Bitcoin goes up to 200,000, I would expect these guys to do at least a minimum 2 to 3x from here, from where they are right now. That would be the bare minimum I would think that they would do. So that's kind of where I would look at, and then they could do better than that. I'm not saying that there's no possibility of that happening either. Let's see. Star Melon's got a question here. Bitfarms, if they're lucky, will get to $3 to $4 a cycle. How was that accretive to investors? The company diluted so much from investors, and investors ended up with getting screwed. It's a scam, Seb. Well, yeah, I mean, I get your frustration on that. But if you got in at lower prices, then $3 to $4 still might not be that bad, right? If you got in, maybe if you got averaged down or something like that. My average at one point was like $1.15, $1.20, but then I bought up a little higher prices as well. So going up to $3 to $4 would have been a 300-400% increase. That's still fantastic. Can you get that out of the S&P? You get what, 10 to 20% gains. So unless you pick some other stocks like the Mag 7 or something like that, then you can get better gains. Or if you got into Nvidia, that thing had a huge run up here. If you're lucky to get one of those things, but I mean the miners still, relatively a short period of time, have done not that bad, depending when you got into them, right? If you got into them at higher prices, then yeah, you're probably pretty upset right now. Okay, Sauer says, these companies' CEOs need to treat investors better after all the money they took from us. It's sad most of them aren't even willing to do monthly reports for us anymore. Well, there's only 2 and possibly 3 that aren't doing monthly reports here. So, but yeah, money changes people, I think. When you see the money that's potentially out there, that kind of changes people, unfortunately. even people with good intentions can sometimes take advantage of possibly investors. I don't say it's on purpose, but it's just the ability that they can do it allows them to do it, and they do it. All right. All right. Let's see. Based on wattage, isn't Iren close to Coreweave? As far as, well, Coreweave has, what do they say? They had 1.8 megawatts currently. Let me see, where is it at? Where did I see it? 1.6 gigawatts. So Iren has available, what is it, 2 gigawatts, right? Clearwater, let's say one is 1.4, I think, and then the other one's like 600 megawatts. So I think they have 2. So I mean, they got plenty. They got definitely more than Coreweave has here now, but they are looking to grow there as well. So maybe Coreweave could go in with Iren. I mean, it's possible. It's not out of the question. We'll see. Okay. All right. Is Iren your top miner to buy even versus Cleanspark? I would say, guys, they're really close to each other. I still like the fact that Cleanspark's growing more, right? Getting to possibly like 65, 70 exahash by the end of the year. I think they'll kind of put them in the league by themselves, and we know that they're probably going to continue to grow next year too as well. Whereas Iren is kind of going to be held up at 50 exahash. So for that reason, plus Cleanspark's got a huge hollow position there, I think I would still possibly take Cleanspark. I'd just like to have them be EPS positive. Maybe we'll get that in Q2 for them. We'll see, which I think is their Q3, I think, actually. All right, let's see. Christian's got a question here, just joined, so maybe I'm asking a repeat question here. Thoughts, Seb, on Iren tapping the ATM quite hard, even as the stock price bottomed, total dilution of about 8%, I estimated during the quarter. Yeah, I mean, they're pulling hard on it like others are as well. So it's unfortunately a beast that we got to deal with. The 1 billion ATM is going to maybe put a little bit of a pressure on the stock from going up too fast, too high. We've seen that historically where, you have an ATM, you usually get people that are against it. So, yeah, I wish they would have held off on that a little bit. But maybe they needed cash, right, to buy the long lead items for substations, all that stuff. That takes a while, so you need cash to do that. So I kind of get it. You can't have one without the other, unfortunately. All right, and which miner is your most undervalued? Any trading within book value? Within book value, I have to look that up, actually. But the miners right now that are undervalued based on just in comparison to other miners, you would have Hive, Bitfarms, Cleanspark in there as well, Iren as well, and then you would have Mara on top of that. So those are kind of ones that I would look at. Let's see. Why is Mara lagging so much? Should I swap for Cleanspark? Mara is just, I think it's their cost to mine is still relatively high. All things considering, they've been doing a better job of it. They've been buying sites now instead of just being asset light, so that's good. They're making improvements and they're striving for the right direction, I think. It's just, they got to get those things improved. They got to get their overhead costs down as well. I don't think they're going to be able to do that, but they need to get those down. And for them, it's going to be getting to a much larger scale. For them, it might be that they need to get to like 80, 90 exahash or 100 exahash in scale to offset some of the other costs that they have. But so that's kind of might be the reason why. And then should you swap, that's going to be your decision on that one. I own a lot of Cleanspark. I own a little bit of Mara because they've been doing much better here recently. But before, you guys know me, I've been kind of, I wouldn't say completely bashing, but I've been definitely down on Mara because of their operations weren't as great as I thought they should be. And for other reasons as well. But yeah, they're doing much better now. And then Veg Trader here, what exahash do miners need to get in order to remain profitable after the next halving? That'll depend greatly on where Bitcoin price is at and the network hash rate or the difficulty is at, right? So that will definitely determine where they need to be at as far as exahash. And then what is their fleet efficiency going to have to be like, right? Can you be profitable still at 19 joules per terahash, or do you need to be closer to like 10x, 10 joules per terahash or lower? So that'll determine it. So it's hard to tell where they will need to be at that point. Why is CoreW valued so high then? Well, Coreweave is valued high based on the contracts that they're getting with Microsoft, OpenAI, right? A bunch of upcoming revenue. That's the reason why. They're getting the contracts, they're getting the customers, and then they're just having to build out to meet the demand that they have there. Whereas the miners and their ambitions for HBCI, they don't have that. So I mean, if they get something like that, then yes, but it's a different breed. So miners are becoming basically data center plays, right? Coreweave is becoming basically a hyperscaler. I wouldn't be surprised eventually if Coreweave starts buying up their own data centers as well, or maybe buying out some of these miners as well. That could be on the books. There's something to do. Cut their costs down and also make it more profitable. They could be valued even higher. Which report did you like more, Cleanspark or Iren, since they were EPS positive? Well, Cleanspark was not EPS positive. They were still in the red a little bit, but not much. Iren was definitely in the positive. I would say I like Iren's. I would say I like Iren's more, right? The costs are nice and low. Everything else is much better. I would say based on that, definitely love that. But I do love the fact that Cleanspark has a nice hodl position there. More growth happening in Bitcoin mining going forward as well. So that's the kind of reason. But I love both of them. Both have there's different stories to both of them, right? Cleanspark's got hodl, more growth in Bitcoin mining. Iren does not have a hodl position. They're pausing their Bitcoin mining expansion, but they're trying to get HBCI, which could also be very profitable there. So you got two of the best sides of the story, I guess, battling it at each other. Defi asks, are you buying CEP? CEP is the 21 new company there. I am not buying it right now. What does it take for Bitfarms to 5x from here? Geez. HBCI customer, Bitcoin to 200,000 plus. Okay, would you mind giving us your most recent projection for Cleanspark? Well, Cleanspark, I've been sandbagging the projections here recently because I got a lot of flack for being maybe too optimistic. So again, if Bitcoin goes up 2x, I would expect the miners to do at least 2x to 3x at the bare minimum. That's kind of where I would expect them to do. Can they do better than that? Yes, especially if Bitcoin goes into this nice parabolic rise, possibly like we've seen in prior cycles, which I don't know if it's going to happen, but they could do it. And that's usually when the miners do really well, where they front run Bitcoin quite nicely. At least last cycles they did. Will we see that again this year? I'd love to see it, but I just don't know. All right. And then what do you think about Griffin? Is worth it to buy 15 cents when it drops again in a few months? Well, they're only getting 2% of the new company there, right? 98% is going to American BTC. 2% is only for Griffin there. When they do, if they drop down, yeah, I could see putting in a little bit just to see where American BTC goes, having Trump there, right? The name Trump. That could be a good thing or a bad thing. I think it might be a good thing, though. They have a lot of contacts. They have a lot of people of influence. They could possibly move that company and the stock up potentially. So that would be like a gamble on the name, I guess. One of those things. And see if they can grow to I think they're trying to get to 50 exahash within a year or something like that. See if they can do that as well. All right. So I've got one more question here. Since a lot of miners are moving to AI more, will Cleanspark be able to mine more coin if the global hash rate drops from those miners not growing? Well, it's not going to drop because they're not growing. It's going to stay the same, but I think it's still going to increase. But the good thing is that Cleanspark will be able to take market share from those guys, right? So as they continue to grow, they're going to be able to take market share, which then should result in them mining more Bitcoin as well, right? So if Iren got contracts, will they potentially pump like crazy? Again, depending on the contract. You get a $5 million contract, well, that's not going to pump that much. You get a $5 billion contract, yeah, stock's going to go crazy, right? Kind of like we've seen here with CORZ last year, right? They got the contracts with Coreweave and the stock was off to the races. So you need one of those things to happen. You also saw that with TeraWolf as well. So it depends on the contract that you get. That will determine how much the stock actually pumps. All right, that's it. We're going on an hour and 20 minutes here. We're going to call it a day. I don't know what's going on tomorrow. Tomorrow, I think do we have somebody reporting tomorrow? I think we do. I think we have BitDeer reporting tomorrow. Yeah, we do. So Bitfarms and Iren reported today. Bitfarms will report tomorrow. We'll cover those guys, obviously, when it happens. And we'll see whatever else happens there. And I got to get you guys the spreadsheets out tomorrow to the Patreon members as well. And I got to do some promoting on the Friday afternoon stream with Aiden Kylik from Hive there for that. So it's going to be a busy day tomorrow as well. All right. But I wish you guys all the best. Have a great night. Thank you so much for coming in with me so late, 10 o'clock, and we're at 11 o'clock right now, my time at least. Really appreciate you guys. Love you all. I'll see you guys tomorrow.